Hello everyone, welcome to Your View. I am Mariah Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello YK, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning.
Did you see you the whole of last week?
My car went for servicing.
Oh.
So I couldn't, I would not take Uber for fear of kidnapping.
Or COVID.
Well,
how are you doing though?
Well, yeah, we opened the shrine again on to concerts.
Wow, since that COVID period.
Yeah.
Goodness. Wow.
So my nephew played for the first time, you know, and I mentioned this today because I want to say thank you to the Commissioner of Information because he came and he stayed for the whole show. So I was really happy about that.
That's very nice of him.
Yeah, very nice of him.
You have approval to open the...
Yeah, we have approval, but we have to do COVID protocols, you know. But I want to share a very inspirational story. You know, my friend was 60 last week. So another friend lost his phone, and we were looking iPhone, the latest iPhone with 3 cameras. Come and see us looking for this phone. We didn't find the phone. Then suddenly someone said, I think they're announcing the phone on the stage. One young boy, he was one of the waiters, was one of the servers, found the phone and took the phone to the stage. The guy, you know, he left the party. He was so sad that his phone was lost, you know, and the guy found the phone. I was so, young boy, I was so happy that, so there are some honest young children like this, you know. And when the guy came back for his phone, he was so happy. He sprayed that guy, he was just spraying that guy thousands. So look at, he returned the phone and he got more money than he would have gotten if he had sold, because the guy now said, any work you want to do, any business, take my number, call me.
For real, honesty. See what honesty gets you.
You know, all the other boys was saying, hey, they were all hanging around. Not even, it was only that guy. All the money inside his pocket.
So it just shows that there's reward for honesty. And when we do see honest young people, we should actually encourage them.
We should. That boy, his name was Shegun. I don't know, just that his name is Shegun. And so, I don't know if he watches the show. If he does, I just want to say, well done.
And thank you. How are you doing, Nima?
I'm fine. I got good news yesterday. So
fantastic.
A friend of mine has been missing for close to 3 years now, and he suddenly walked home yesterday.
That friend that you mentioned.
My mom called me. My mom doesn't go out. She's always at home because of this, you know. But she ran to their house, and this is a praying family. His parents are very strong Christians. His dad is a bishop.
Do you know what happened?
He's been with kidnappers along the Ibadan Expressway, according to my mom.
For 3 years.
That long. Said he looks so macheted. He looks so you know, badly. It looks really bad. So I'll do everything this week. Today, mostly, I will try and go and see him because I have not spoken to him and I've still not gotten over the excitement. I need to see him.
It will be great to hear his story. Maybe one of these days we can bring him on when he's fully recovered.
I'm hopeful.
We need to know exactly what happened.
They can be very traumatized though, because I met one that was kidnapped a few weeks ago, and he didn't know that I knew. And when I said it, the way he looked at me, but before he could open up and start telling me his story, he was kidnapped too.
This one, we've been looking for him. I remember talking to his mom, and she looked so sad. But I'm a praying family.
A while back.
Yes, we're a praying family. We believe he will come back, and he did everything in the books. So we were able to talk to him. He was now saying to my mom that all the time we were talking to him through SMSs, they were actually talking to the kidnappers.
Not him.
So whenever the monies were asked for, the things were taken and all of that, they were the ones operating his card and all of that.
So they paid them?
No, they didn't pay directly because they didn't demand on that phone. But the parents who tried to talk to him will say, okay, just send me an SMS. It was somebody else using his phone. He wasn't in charge of his phone.
Let me come to you, Bisi. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing amazing. So this morning I just observed the sun rise on my way to work. You know, normally I leave earlier than I used to these few weeks. But now because they've opened the bridge, I now leave later. So I leave when the sun is about to rise. So this morning I just turned, I was trying to read, and I just turned and saw the sun. And you know, as a child, when you're traveling, you see the sun following you or the moon, depending on the time that you travel. And the thing was just following me. We were going side by side, and I was observing how it was, you know, going into the clouds and coming out again. And I was just full of appreciation. you know, grateful to God that I am alive today.
I love you,
grateful to God, thank you, that I'm seeing the sun. I'm appreciating God's creation. I just felt a certain type of way. I said I was going to share. Let's not take some of these little things for granted.
No, these are major things.
Yeah. The way Mariah is keeping her face, like, is that the gist you
I
have?
do, like the birds in our house. I feed them. I give them because they go and eat the dog food, and the dogs can kill them. So I built a thing for them so that they can. And you know, when you wake up in the morning and you hear them chirping,
you see,
it's such a lovely sound.
It is.
Appreciate
nature, Mariah.
My father's song, Teacher Don't Teach Me. You know the bass line. Dun, 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 dun. He said he got that bass line from a bird that used to come outside his room and chirp. And that was the sound the bird was making. You know, so do appreciate nature,
appreciate
madam.
nature.
Yeah, why are you all coming to me?
The way you are looking at us,
I don't know my eye. You too look
appreciate
straight.
nature, please. Thank you. How are you doing?
Nature is beautiful. Nature is green.
She wanted another gist this morning. I did not give her.
Let's go on a break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, start with the nation. Night of horror in Owerri. 38 vehicles destroyed, 1,844 inmates freed in attacks on police headquarters and prison. Osun begins recruitment into Amotekun. IMF excludes Nigeria from debt relief. Atiku not fit to contest for President Malimitel's court. Doctors tag Ngige, Ehanire saboteurs. And Prince Emiko is Olu of Warri designate. Odumaki, a dogged fighter. Patriot says Tinubu. All right, we'll take the Owerri story somewhere else because all over the papers. That's why another story we've not taken.
Should we take labor and employment?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so the Nigerian Medical Association accusing the Labor and Employment Minister, Dr. Chris Ngige, and his health counterpart, Dr. Osagi, of trying to sabotage the president's efforts to fix the ailing health sector. So according to the NMA, they are saying that if they are tired of that job, they should actually resign, because they've been going, especially with this strike now that the National Association of Resident Doctors have started. They said they've been going round and round in circles, that he had advised the federal government 4 weeks back to resolve this issue, that you can't leave people working and you're not paying them. There's some of the resident doctors have not been paid. Their hazard allowance have not been touched. Those ones who lost their lives, they've not gotten any form of compensation. The life health insurance scheme had not been activated on their behalf. So you can't keep going round and round the circle. And it was even foreseen from 1985 that they advised the federal government that, see, these hospitals are becoming just consultation clinics. They do not have anything to show that they are.
Thank God it's our hot topic, so we'll talk about it more a bit later. Atiku, go ahead.
They say he wasn't born in Nigeria, so he's not eligible to contest for the highest office. They say he was born in Cameroon.
Right.
And
I was going to take that story also. Like, let me add to that. So there's a group, Egalitarian Mission Act. They actually put a suit against Atiku, and it was the Attorney General who was giving his own, arguing and saying exactly what you just said, that he doesn't deserve to be, he's not eligible to be the president because both his parents are not from this country, according to Section 25, 1 and 2, subsection 1 and 2 of the Constitution and the Electoral Act of our country.
But he could be the vice president.
I had heard that before, but I was wondering how come...
That's what I was going to... How did he become the vice president if he wasn't born in Nigeria?
Initially, I thought it was political.
I thought his name is a Nigerian name, Atiku Abubakar.
He's also, well, it can be from any country. Chad, Niger, these are all Islamic names.
But he lives here as a Nigerian.
I don't understand.
And he's been a vice president. So you already said the key one. Yeah, he was a vice president before. Anyway, we'll talk about that. The
Warri Kingdom have a new Olu of Warri.
Designate.
But amid all that jubilation, there's a dissenting voice. The Ayiri Emami Ologosere of Warri Kingdom, of Ishekiri Kingdom, is insisting that there's a requirement that this Olu of Warri has not fulfilled, because his mother should, according to their rules, should either be from Benin Kingdom or Ishekiri Kingdom, but his own mother is from Ogun, so that should be negated. But the National council of Ishekiri people have already waived that requirement, and they're talking to him. So hopefully all of this noise will call eventually.
The young guy, 37-year-old.
37-year-old.
So very soon, after the 90 days mourning, he becomes king?
Yes, he's already gone into seclusion for that. And, you know, the rituals have started for
I admire the culture in that area. I mean, it's very, very sacred, and you can see that there's preparation towards it. I mean, and the fact that he came in for the first time. I mean, I was on social media, and I saw quite a lot of pictures while he was flying into the country, and he was excited about coming to take on this new role. We wish him the best. Moving on now to the Punch. Federal government sounds tough. AIG fingers IPOB as government free 1,844 Imo inmates. The picture here is quite gruesome. Lagos-based pastor kidnapped in Ondo, found dead after $2 million ransom. NBA protests as judiciary workers begin strike over autonomy. Police rescue 2-year-old twins locked up for 3 days without food. 4 Kwara teenagers nabbed over alleged rape, murder of Fulani woman. And NARD orders COVID-19 doctors to join strike, threatens $5 million fine. Okay, let's take the major headline now.
I want to take that in another story.
Okay,
so,
go ahead.
Are you doing the twins?
Let me do the
twins.
NBA.
Okay, yes, why can you have that story? Go ahead.
Yeah, this was in Ekiti State. The lady locked her twins in the room because she says, and she didn't allow anybody go and rescue them. And she said she will kill them if they come and try and force the door open. So they called the police, and the police tactfully entered and rescued them. They had been there for 3 days, and she didn't feed them.
Was there a reason?
She says because the father abandoned
her.
So she has been feeding them. I think maybe she's not all right because the police didn't arrest her. They just said they are investigating, and then they are keeping mother and children safe. So I think maybe she has
By the time they release those children,
her salon, business was no more paying her. So she didn't have money.
Yeah. And then before they rescued the children, they were not able to, over 2 years of age, they were not able to work because of malnutrition. So she's kept them in for a long time. But I wanted to take the pastor that was killed. So I think Easter Sunday, a lifeless body of Frederick Aramoa was found beside the road. So this pastor was actually kidnapped March 31st. And the abductors reached out, the kidnappers reached out, and they were demanding 10 million initially, but then they negotiated it down to 2 million. And even after the ransom was paid, they still killed him, collected the money, killed him, and left him lifeless on the road. Investigations are ongoing concerning that.
Hopefully they can trace them.
Let's find another story.
The NBA, the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, won strike starting yesterday, 6th of April. And they are insisting that, starting today, they are insisting that the autonomy of the judiciary be maintained and enforced as the law prescribed. But the NBA is saying to them that this is the longest time, as much as they feel that their grievances are legit, they feel that this is not the best time because a lot of cases in court, most of the cases in court have suffered the lockdown and further extension. I had one of my process expire during this period because the courts have not sat on such a matter, and that this is not the best time for them to go on strike now.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with the reviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view.
Thanks for staying with us. We're going to move on now to Vanguard. Let's start with the mayhem in Owerri. Transporters decry non-payment of 10 billion naira COVID-19 palliative. Oni Southern Senators, Ijo Group, others more, Yinka Odumaki and Innocent Chukuma. Africa 39, Kaduna government, parents of kidnapped children on warpath. Nobody can stop Kuka from speaking against bad governance, says Onaikon. And COVAX worries over shortage of doses. Okay, let's start with the mayhem that happened in Owerri.
Yes, so there was tension and confusion in Imo State when the police headquarters and the correctional center in Owerri were attacked by hoodlums who set free 1,800 inmates. They came in with a lot of explosive, according to eyewitnesses. They came in bare feet. They were chanting war songs, and then they released the inmates, telling them that they should go home, Jesus has risen. So they carted away with ammunition from the center, they destroyed the CCTV camera, they destroyed the data of all the inmates. I think about 35 inmates refused to go with them, but so far so good. The government has, the police officials have been able to rescue 6, they've been able to take 6 back into, so they have about 47, I think, inmates that are there in custody. But now the federal government is fingering IPOB and the Eastern Security Network, saying that they are likely the ones who have carried out this, and investigations are going to be ongoing. IPOB is saying we have no business in attacking security officials. What we do is stay in the forest and wait for header heads and hairs.
Well, according to the, what's after that?
I just wanted to say, before they attacked the prison, yes, they were outside, they were by the government house for about 2 hours, singing, chanting. Yes. And nobody did anything. No security were there to watch them.
Because it's freedom of speech now. They can sit there and chant. You are free to chant in any way you want. I can't come and attack any police to arrest you because you are trying to
government house, 1. 2, you sing. If Shawore come down with 4 people, they will shout, they will arrest all of them. This was a gang of them with arms and everything.
Now, the reason why the federal government was also saying fingering IPOB was that because IPOB had already given a 14-day ultimatum for them to release their members in prison. If they don't release their members, they're going to see what's going to happen. And that's why the federal government is saying that this could have been, might have been something planned out by IPOB. But
IPOB is denying it.
Of course, they will deny it. They're going to say they did it.
I don't know.
Okay, let's move on now.
Boko Haram, when they do something, they say we are doing, even if they're not the one that do it.
Everybody, you know, everybody important is mourning Nika Dumaki, the Oni of Ife, even the Arewa and the Enjoy Youth Forum are also mourning, saying that he's been a very, very important person in their, in solidarity with them in their causes. He has fought, you know, against and across what's it called?
Party line.
Pressure group. No, across pressure group. He didn't. Yes, he's an Afenifere spokesperson, but he's always spoken out for other groups, you know, in the agitations across the country. And Ashiwaju also paid a visit to his wife, saying that yes, they might not have been on the same ground, but he's someone he respects because he saw the work he did before the June 12th, and you know, and after, and what he's always stood for. He respects him.
The Catholic Bishop Onayeka was saying that they cannot stop Reverend Kruger for speaking against bad governance, and this is saying that, listen, politics is different, that we are all politicians in different ways, that Christian leaders have the authority to speak when they see things are happening, bad things are happening to your people, and they shouldn't be seen as meddling into politics. And I'd like to connect that to even the mayhem that happened in Owerri, because the truth is that, yes, they've released 1,844 inmates. Who is going to suffer? Is it the people that, are you going to cut off your nose to spite your face? When the citizens that live amongst you are now going to be threatened because you now have criminals who have been let out on the streets.
The level of good news, though, the Kaduna kidnapped 39 students of the forestry college.
Yes.
5 of them were rescued by the Nigerian army. So I'm trying to see whether they escaped, but the paper says Nigerian army
military rescued them.
The military rescued.
And to build on that story, I think I've always to take that story also, because the governor of Kaduna is still insisting that he's not going to pay ransom for anybody, and they're doing everything humanly possible to rescue these students from these people, but they definitely will not pay ransom because they believe that this ransom is what is fueling Boko Haram, and they have intelligence to show that they're the ones fueling.
I'm not one that says negotiate with terrorists, but you have to give the parents some hope and some succor. Oh yes, don't worry, we will rescue your children.
We are on it.
No, we are on it. Now, we don't know how this, they are saying Nigerian army, I heard on the news this morning that it was some people that gathered money for those ones. So, if my child was kidnapped, I would be so desperate. I would do anything.
Oh, yeah. And I think the parents also echoed the fact that, listen, they've not seen the governor's face since this thing happened. And give us some kind of reassurance. Yes, you know you're working, but give them some kind of reassurance. To come to us and let us know what's
Let me know that you have gone there with drones all over the forest.
I'm talking about drones. These things are there are satellite images that can actually help you to find this. Right? Somebody was sending me messages of the various technology that is available, that is being used right now across the world. That why is it so difficult for Nigerian government to actually adopt
the
these things?
political will? We have the answer.
That government might be complicit in different ways.
We have the answer.
Moving on now to Daily Sun, banditry, kidnapping, FG under pressure to name sponsors. Josun directs members to shut down courts from today. I think Nima took that story already. We talk about the Imo State prison. Let's find the story we've not taken. Buhari restates vow to end terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping. APC Governor's DG kicks against tenure extension for caretaker committee. Civil servants spoil for war over non-implementation of Service Act.
So major headline, the President's Senior Special Assistant on Media said they will soon start naming, those found along the, found involved in the banditry and sponsoring, kidnapping and all of that across the country. This has provoked certain groups. So the President of the Middle Belt Forum, Dr. Bogu Bitrus, has responded saying that's a joke. Yeah. That if you have the names, you should already have mentioned them. As the president, if you know these people, give us names and and work with the names that you have as your suspect. You don't come out and give us small terms today and say you will name them. Even the National Publicity Secretary of the Arewa Youth Forum echoed the same thing. Say, if you people know these people, just name them already. Exactly. So a lot of groups are now provoked saying, name if you have the names. Don't come and tell us.
Let me even quote him. He was saying that, he said that there's evidence all over the place that bullets fired by non-state actors have signature of the Nigerian army on them. Also, evidence shows that helicopters drop weapons for the headsmen and bandits, even when it's clear nobody controls the airspace but the government. So in his own view, government is complicit.
Yes, at the end
I just feel that they are playing 10-10. You know how to play that game 10-10 with the lives of Nigerians.
10-10.
So how...
10-10.
Okay, 10-10.
I'm not I just feel that the political class, the government is not taking the lives of its citizens serious. How can you, which country will hear that you know the people behind banditry and you will name them at your own time? There was a governor that mentioned the same thing, that I know them, but I will name them after the children have settled. The children have settled till today, we've not heard. So it just shows me that there's a lot more that we are not seeing. And government is complicit.
It's either they don't know, and they're just boasting.
They know.
Or they know and they're covering up. There are only two. There is no in between. In the matter.
Moving on to the Nigerian Tribune. I mean, I'm so pained about what happened in Owerri because I can almost imagine what the parents or people who live in that community now are thinking. They have 1,844 criminals who have been released into the streets.
Society.
I will pack my load and leave. I don't.
There is a guy,
so
I was listening to
painful.
the radio today, there's a former DSS, I've forgotten his name, Mike something, was on the radio, and he was talking about, he was supposed to go to Owerri yesterday. He dare not go there.
Yes. So you're putting your citizen that you're trying to protect at risk. Nigerian Tribune, machine guns, explosive used to free the inmates. Let's find the story of not taking Oduma King. I will organize activities to keep his ideals alive, says wife. Doctors strike illegal. NMA suffering from leadership failure, says minister. FG moves to avert ASUP strike, calls for emergency meeting. OGD, that Otumba Benga Daniel at 65, says about 70% of high-rise buildings in Marina had its company is impute. And 1,222 shops burnt in Ibadan's largest auto parts market. 5 of the 39 abducted Forestry College Kaduna students regained freedom.
So these 1,222 shops that were burnt were in the Agodi Gate auto spare parts market in Ibadan. The fire they said the fire started from one of the tire shops where a wire had fallen and that caught fire and spread across the market. But the head of the market, President Agodi Market Spare Part Association, Mr. Moruf Olarewaju, said that the markets people also complicated issues by parking and blocking the entrances that prevented the fire service from being able to access the market to help quell the fire. So they had all their goods destroyed. And you could, even at the time of the report, you could still see some shops with, some flames. My concern is we have 1,222 businesses crumbled at this time. Economically, it's not, it's not good for us. Where exactly will help come now. Because we know most of these market people, as Nigerians, don't have market insurance. It's not today that we have it. You usually fall back on government. I'm hoping that the Oyo State governor will do something for them.
And finally,
them get back on
finally in the Guardian, South accuses federal government of denying its farmers anchor borrowers loans. And these are monies given to farmers. According to them, Rivers says none of its 300,000 applicants got the loan. Cross River is angry that 20,000 requests have not been granted. They deal with farmers directly, not through political farmers. And CBN is saying that the scheme is not a failure, and they will begin to make payments in those regions shortly. That's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, it's Tuesday. There's so much going with the National Association of Resident Doctors. I would like to get you an update. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying. So the National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, and Association of Nigerian Residents Medics recently embarked on an indefinite strike paralyzing medical services at public hospitals in Nigeria, leaving hundreds of patients unattended. The question therefore is, with the insurgency, insecurity, ethnic differences presently ravaging the country, should Nigerians support this strike? What are your thoughts on this? You can call us on 081-270-53687 or 091-390-76948. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. All right, so ladies, we read it in the papers today that even the NRD are saying that all the doctors that are taking care of the COVID patients must join the strike. If not, they're going to also they're going to fine 5 million to the chapters, the local chapters. Now that means they mean business. So they're saying that everybody should down tools, and it seems like some others are not complying. What are your thoughts on this? We're going to hear your views, and then we'll hopefully bring in somebody who can tell us exactly what the update is from their own end. What are your thoughts? Let me start with you, BC.
Yeah, so I think we need to stop just paying lip service to solving problems, because I remember that in June 2020, September 2020, these same resident doctors down tools and went on strike. So what happened between September and we're in April now? That means nothing was resolved. And last week here we're saying that they had a meeting with the minister, and they had to sign a memorandum. And then the minister was saying after they had signed, they had agreed, they reneged on their agreement, and they went ahead to carry out the strike. But these people are saying that we can't keep signing and going back to work and then nothing is done. They just have a few requests that they are making to the federal government. They are saying that their hazard allowance, you need to increase it to at least to 50% of our consolidated basic salary. Just increase it for us. They are saying that the health insurance, life insurance scheme that you started, you need to enforce it. We've lost people. People have died during COVID-19. Doctors have died during COVID-19. Till now, their families have not received anything in form of compensation. They are saying that the arrears that you are owing workers, you need to pay them. Some of them are even saying that most of them have not even been paid for a couple of months now. Now, the health sector is a very critical sector. We are in the midst of a pandemic. People are dying, and it's not just COVID-19 that's killing people. We have other ailments that people are dying from every day. Now, if we continue to have our workers, people who are supposed to take care of those ones who come to get care from them, not being taken care of, what incentive would they work with? How would they continue to do their jobs better? We do not have options to travel outside the country to get treatment. This is all we have. The government needs to sit up and pay attention to the health sector.
Right. What are your thoughts on this?
So, for me, this is a case of somebody old pots. Somebody's supposed to feed baby. So one person is holding on to the plate while one person is holding on to the pot. Now the child is suffering because the person holding on to the plate decides that it can't be empty and I'll be looking for what to put inside. Somebody has to serve the main dish. The federal government are aware how serious this pandemic is. And we've always talked about how they pay lip service, how we wonder when the standards under the guidelines for COVID changes when it comes to government and officials and politically exposed persons. Now we see it clearly, because even if the issues that the Resident Doctors Association are highlighting are the flimsiest of reasons, at this time is when they could get away with anything. At this time where they are the warriors in the front lines, this is when they can get away with anything. And this is the time when we see the Minister for Labour come on national TV, and I wondered whether he was, whether he cared at all. I listened to his interview on TV, his countenance, his composure and everything, and I wondered whether at all he knew what we're talking about. You will not have patients who have, simple cases get to the general hospitals and they're just sitting there helpless. And the kind of care they need, they cannot afford it in a private hospital. No, there's no way. They would rather go and take number 160 in a general hospital and wait their turn till they get to that 160 because that's what they can afford.
When we were having to have this conversation, I was actually just tired. I'm exasperated. I'm tired of having this conversation over and over again. These are critical sectors: education, healthcare. These are sectors where people are involved, lives are involved. These are sectors where you expect that the government is making sacrifices. And in fairness, they try to make sacrifices in certain areas, but the truth is that it's still not enough. And you can't. And it's also it's something that's happened over time. It's not just something we're seeing today. And I feel that there's really there's no solution. There's no solution out there. There's nothing to do. Okay, your thoughts? Yeah.
You see, my own is this. You come into government, healthcare, education, water, light. You see those four things? Human beings cannot survive without it. Before you do anything, deal with those sectors. I'm telling you, if they dealt with the health sector, if they dealt with education, the way that we will look at government is different to the way we're looking at government now. Government are going to take the blame. You can say doctors, but doctors are human. They too must eat. Now, I was listening to a program yesterday or today. They say over 800 doctors have died from COVID. There is no
insurance plan or
nothing for them.
Nothing.
So they will just go.
Nothing to motivate the rest to stay.
They will even infect their families too. So why? If 800 have died, then that means more than that have had.
Exactly, because we really do not even have data.
Yes.
One day.
For me, I just think that, when I think of my president is in England. Government people, they get ill, they go abroad, and it is the president's wife was in Dubai. She said for health reasons for over 6 months. 6 months, and your doctors are going on strike. It should not even. It should not. Why are you not building hospitals? Why are you not? Look, all over the world, Nigerians have the best doctors. Yes. Nigerians are the best doctors all over the world. You hear this one has done this.
Michael, remember, did you go to Uyo with us? Where did you go? Do this
no doctor inside
hospital.
That's a Akpabio.
Now I don't know.
No doctor inside.
I know that was then. I don't know what it is now. But then we were shocked. You can see. So it's one thing to build. It's another thing to train and raise our doctors. You see, I want us to be a bit objective in this conversation because we can join the world in sharing the same sentiments we've been sharing. But how do we resolve them? I'm hoping that we can bring in our guests very soon to give us some real life solutions. What do we do? How can government meet us halfway?
See, it has to be whether government wants to do it or they don't. It has to be deliberate. We have 5% foreign, black doctors abroad in America. 2.5% of that number are Nigerians. So we know it's not lack of manpower.
About 5,000
it's not lack of manpower, that we have. But with our continuous abuse of sectors, you know that when Boko Haram was at the height of it, our soldiers were undermotivated. Now we have our doctors facing a pandemic. Whether or not, they are in the front lines, they are treating COVID itself. They have to face people with potential COVID cases in the hospitals where they practice. And now is the time you don't know what to prioritize.
Excuse me, I'm not a doctor. Every time they tell me somebody is sick, what do I say?
COVID.
I say it's COVID. When I got ill, I said I had COVID. So how can And I didn't even test, but I said, no, I'm sure it was. Do you understand? So so I am not in the front line, and I see COVID everywhere. What of those that are in the front line?
Yeah.
If I'm seeing COVID, they are seeing more than COVID.
Let me come to, I think our guest is here now, but let me just take your thoughts before I come to our guest.
Yes, so I think, our government is very good with comparisons. When they travel abroad and they see that everybody's paying tax in the abroad, they'll come here and impose tax. When they travel and they see that everybody is, things are happening in a certain way, people are paying so and so amount for fuel, and they even have fuel, they come here, they will increase it. Let them, when they go to those hospitals for their health care, I want to appeal to them to find out how much those doctors are paid, how much the health workers there are paid, how they are taken care of, their insurance packages, and when they come here, they should replicate it if they are serious about changing what is happening.
So, okay, I think you even answered your question, because the truth is that there are taxes. We abroad, there's some states that take about 40% taxes.
Yes.
Some states, but here in Africa, they are begging citizens to pay taxes. Listen, we can be objective and we can choose to be sentimental.
Okay.
If you look at the numbers of Nigerians, the workforce that are actually paying taxes, I don't have the figures here, but the figures are, if you compare that to all the informal sector that we have. So the truth is, I'm not making case. See, listen, I'll come to you, Lima. I'm not making case for the government, because this government is not the kind of government they make case for. Because 50%, 100%, they will disappoint you. So I cannot make case, and I dare not. But at the same time, I would like us to have that well-tempered conversation where we understand that we are clear.
It would be good to listen to what I'm trying to say. So we're not saying we're not ready to pay taxes, but the people that are paying taxes, the people that are paying the taxes are seeing the basic amenities. We have money generated that government squanders on taking care of themselves. We see that.
Let's even
Why don't you give us the basic amenities and see if Nigerians start from one place?
You see why I don't want to go to taxes? Because if I'm paying tax and I see what my tax is doing, I will be very happy to pay.
Yes.
But if I'm paying tax and I'm seeing somebody get rich, or I'm seeing one local government chairman coming to come and use my money to do, and then I get offended.
Okay.
Now, I know that every taxpayer in England, when he retires, he or she retires, they have pension for life. One, was free. They have different things. All these things are free.
Let me now
for them.
Let me build on that. I remember because when I think it was the former governor of Lagos State, then I think it was Ashwaju that tried to increase the IGR of Lagos State. Then we're not even, the federal, we're depending solely on federal allocation. Gradually from, I think it was 10 billion to 30 billion monthly, gradually, I don't know what the figures are now. The point is, we that live in Lagos, we've seen the progression of taxpayers, and we've seen some of the amenities. We're not satisfied because there's influx of Nigerians coming in every from all over the country every time it's in the Lagos State. But the truth is that we have actually seen the difference in 1999 to now. If you travel outside and come back to Lagos, you will see traffic lights. The other time I came back to Nigeria, I didn't see traffic lights. I've seen traffic lights. As last one was established, the point is that we saw some progress based on taxes. I'm saying that if we, I'm just talking about Lagosians, if we pay our taxes, maybe. But a federal government as a whole is a whole different ballgame. Nigerians outside Lagos State, many of them are not paying taxes.
Yesterday in the papers, when we took the debt,
I'm trying to have a conversation where both areas are taking responsibility, both government and we the people.
Excuse me. Before you can force somebody or impel or compel someone to pay tax, you have to, there is a way you will communicate with that person, and that person will feel compelled to pay tax. Now, if I'm living in the village and I don't have electricity because you
don't even know what is like.
There's no electricity.
Which tax are you?
And you are telling me I should come and pay tax. I'm looking at you on what? At least in Lagos, look, you have lights in Lagos. Go to some other states outside Lagos, whether they have lights.
Let me go in a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring in our guests. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
to staying with us. So join us on the show now is a chief consultant, family physician, and the President Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria, Dr. Ifeoma Munye. Good morning, madam. Are you there?
Good morning. Good morning, friends. I'm here. How
Good to have you on the show. Yes. Now, let me start with the current strike by the resident doctors. What are your thoughts on this, and what do you know about the demands they're making and what the federal government's response is so far?
Well, it's very unfortunate that at this point in time, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on your show, your wonderful show that has such a wonderful outreach. It's very unfortunate that this is happening at a time where there is absolute need for good access to quality health care by everyone. The residents have a point they are making. I mean, I've been qualified now for nearly 40 years. I qualified in 1987. So I'm in my 30s of years after qualification. And I've worked in Nigeria and I've worked in the United Kingdom. And so I did my postgraduate training in the United Kingdom. So I have a good grasp of what it is to train and live as a doctor in the two different communities. And it's very sad. It saddens my heart to see what is happening to our younger colleagues. Tomorrow is April 7th and is the World Health Day, commemorated every year since 1950 to kind of draw focus and awareness and scrutiny to the constituency of the World Health Organization that says that every man and woman, every boy and girl, every child, everyone all over the world is entitled to access of excellent health care. They have a right to access to health care. But you see, no matter where you are in the world, so it doesn't depend on geographical location, it doesn't depend on your gender, your race, your color, your creed, your political beliefs, your economic status, your social status, you should have a right to access to health care. And tomorrow just happens to be the day, once a year, that this is celebrated. My question is, how do we describe what is happening in our country as a situation where every man, every woman, every boy, every girl, even the unborn child, has a right of access to health care? When healthcare workers, and in this case, my younger colleagues, are in such dire situations, you just don't even want to begin to understand that. And I think that it's quite timely that it's happening at a time where the World Health Organization is calling on leaders all over the world, policymakers, governments, to please create the enabling environment to see that this happens. So whether it means that the healthcare workers have better say, have better care, their needs are attended to, they are kept in such a situation that they can offer the good quality healthcare that the people deserve, that everyone deserves. It doesn't matter what geographical location in the world. This is a good time to draw the attention of our leaders to say, please listen to my younger colleagues. There is no, and many of them are leaving the country in the droves. At my heart, I'm just wondering who is going to be left to look after us. They are leaving, and because they're going to countries where they feel and they know that care is taken for those who are training to become specialists in different areas of medicine. So I think that this is a time to really draw the attention of our leaders to please pay attention.
All right, doctor. They say when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. And with this fight now between the federal government and National Association of Resident Doctors, it's the populace that are going to be suffering. There's a lot of queue in the hospitals. Nobody's attending to them. Even some hospitals that try to get outside consultants are not able to really attend to the mass of people that need to be attended to. So I want to ask you, do you think having the strike now is the best way to go? Because I know that in 2020, the strike happened about 2 times, in June and in September, and still we did not see any form of change, especially on the side of the federal government. So do you think this is the only way we can get the federal government to listen to these doctors?
Well, I think, I'm not sure what I think really matters here, but I think I think that people, everyone on both sides of the divide should continue to, and you're quite right, my friend, when you say that the masses are suffering. When two elephants fight, it is the ground on which they fight that suffer. Again, I'm going to draw us back and back to World Health Organization and what they say, that the healthcare must be adequate. It must be appropriate in quality. There is no way people are going to have this if there's fighting is going on. So I think that people should constantly be on the drawing table, on the discussion table, or the negotiation table to see that needs are listened to and met accordingly. So I think that, dialogue must continue until we find a solution. Dialogue. When I trained, it wasn't as bad as it is now. When I did my MBBS at the University of Benin City, in Edo State, it wasn't this way. But I think towards the end there was one or two brushes of a strike or the other, and so on. But you see, I think the dialogue should carry on, remembering that the people who suffer are those at home, and for all you care. It may be our relatives, and many times it may even be our immediate families that suffer this. And if there's no doctor to help, if there's no doctor to work, then somebody will suffer, lives will be lost. So I think that the dialogue must continue, and nobody should be brushed aside. The leaders of the resident doctors must not give up. They must continue to adopt the negotiation and to talk. And government should please continue to listen. Continue to listen. They are our future. They are our future. I'm going to retire very soon, believe it or not. And we need younger ones to take charge of things. So I think that dialogue must continue.
Yeah. So you don't look it.
You just got out of med school.
Oh, well, that's lifestyle. That's lifestyle, and God's responsible for that.
Okay, you keep referring to the World Health Organization, what health, what they consider basic health. Can you break it down? What constitutes basic or the best health care? What you consider the best health care? Because in Nigeria, even the HMO stop at malaria treatment.
Yes,
so,
sir.
what exactly is access to best health care?
Okay. So I think World Health Organization says that this healthcare that we must all aspire towards must be built solidly around a strong primary healthcare system, which is healthcare, particularly in the community setting and in the home care setting. And it is healthcare that is affordable, very important. And it's important to stress some of these things, because it's not good enough to say, oh, that organization, that facility, they have very good healthcare, and then you cannot access it. Then it's not in existence to the individual. Mm-hmm. So this basic healthcare we're talking about is healthcare that is good quality, appropriate in quality. So it's standard, it's global. Anywhere you go in the world, that stands, scientifically based and evidence backed. It must be accessible, like I said earlier. It must be adequate in range. So all forms of care, be it preventive care, be it promotional health, be it treatment, be it palliative care, all, be it other kinds of health care. And I dare add lifestyle medicine, which is now quite new all over the world. People must be made aware of it. Also, the healthcare must be acceptable. And this is what it's meant to be. Excellent healthcare service to the people.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the risk of how to reduce the risk of chronic diseases with you. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So over the past couple of years, according to reports, there have been quite a rise and increase in chronic diseases such as cancer, hypertension, heart disease, and the likes. To commemorate tomorrow's World Health Day, our guest again will be talking on how we can build a fairer and healthier world in Nigeria, not just Nigeria, but across the world. Dr. Moye, it's good to have you again. You still there?
I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Right. So, right.
Yeah, I would just like you to expatiate on what chronic diseases are and how do we prevent them.
Thank you so much. That question and that concept and that topic couldn't have come at a better time than where we are now, the pandemic. Chronic diseases, to answer your question, are diseases that last for months and even years. If you compare them to acute illnesses like malaria, like typhoid, that come and treat and it's gone. But chronic diseases are diseases that stay with you for many years. Now, the offshoot of chronic disease is a situation or a condition that we call chronic inflammation. So what I'm saying is, if you do not have a situation of chronic inflammation in your body, you're not going to have any business with chronic disease. And this was not known until just a few years back. And so people thought before a few years back that once you have, diseases like diabetes, which is a chronic disease, hypertension, cancers, arthritis, joint diseases, Alzheimer's and dementia. Once you have chronic diseases like asthma, like heart conditions, coronary artery disease, and so on. And that's it. You just manage and manage until you have an early death. Once it runs in your family, then that's your lot. The answer to that now is no, a big fat no. That's no longer the case. With the arrival of the concept of lifestyle medicine, which is a new specialty that is just blowing over. It's the fastest growing specialty in the entire world. And thankfully, it's in Nigeria, brought in by the Brookfield Center for Lifestyle Medicine in 2014, headquartered in Abuja. Introduced this specialty to Africa. This specialty tells us that, hang on, if lifestyle practices are responsible for chronic inflammation, and if we address those lifestyle practices, we will eliminate chronic inflammation and therefore will eliminate chronic diseases. So I think that time is now for everyone to pay attention to everyday lifestyle practices, such as what we eat, such as whether or not we have active movement, whether or not we have adequate restorative sleep, how we manage stress, everyday stress. We all stress one way or the other. How we have our relationships with one another, with our colleagues at work, with our spouses at home, with our children, with our friends, with our community. How we deal with the toxic substances around us. So be it tobacco that you inhale by smoking, or the pollution in the air. And that's why environmental health is so key for our health and the planetary Earth. So these 6 pillars are areas of our lifestyle that we must pay attention to. Every single one of them directly impacts on whether or not we have a situation of chronic inflammation going through, because that is the common denominator to all chronic diseases. And I've said that before. These chronic diseases are diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. People go to sleep and they don't wake up. More than likely, they have had a heart attack. They have had a heart event in their sleep and they've died. Some people will say the witches have taken them. That's not true. Your heart has stopped while you were sleeping, and it's down to lifestyle. And guess what? The treatment, the approach is so simple and so affordable. And that is why it totally ties in with WHO saying that healthcare must be acceptable, accessible, affordable, and safe. It is lifestyle intervention is the only intervention that has no side effects. How many of you have had antibiotics and then come up with side effects, or have some medication? Maybe they've given you medication for sleep, medication for anxiety, medication for depression, medication for this or for that. And you have side effects. But take a pill of lifestyle. You don't have side effects. The only side effects you have are good side effects.
Dr. Moye, let me come to this issue of lifestyle for a moment. Dr. Moye, now, even though we understand that lifestyle could be what we eat and how we exercise, but there are always this debate on what should we eat, what is right. There isn't enough information on how healthy our foods, especially in Africa here, is. What's the best food for us to eat? We know vegetables and fruits, but sometimes they say low carbs, high protein, low this, high that, and we get all sort of data. We're not even sure which is right. So if we say lifestyle is the way to ensure we reduce chronic diseases, which of these foods should we focus more on at this time?
Thank you for that question. And I think that we will talk about food, but that's not all. We'll talk about food, and I'll come there and I'll talk to you about that. And it's amazing that if you look across the globe, I think that Africa has the best selection of foodstuff that we can eat to stay healthy. But we'll get there. But we'll also talk about movement. We'll talk about sleep. Very important. And except all of this balanced together, you can eat all you like, all the fancy designer foods, you will still be in trouble if you don't look after the other 5 domains. So let me come back to the food. So basically, when we talk about food and dietary approach for healthy living, we want to kind of have a mindset of colors. Now, when you think food, please, this is very easy. Think colors, think rainbow, think green. You look around, look outside. What you see is green, isn't it? That's not a mistake. You should live on greens. And that's why when you look around, all you see is greens. You should live on greens. So at least 50% of your plate, the good plate, that's what we call it, should be made up of greens. And a little and some
if I have
so in Africa, we have what we call Africa indigenous vegetables. There are vegetables that are now attracting so much attention in the global space. You know, things that we've eaten for centuries, but recently we have left alone because we've become westernized and we're going for fast food. That's a no-no. Do not do that. Please go back to the ugu, go back to the pumpkin leaves, go back to moringa leaves, go back to bitter leaves, go any fruit, you know, there are so many, I can't mention them. And it's not just Nigeria, all across Africa. We have Africa indigenous vegetables that are now the buzzword in nutrition. Everybody in the world are looking for how to grow, you know, orchards of them in Africa so they can export back to their countries and make things of it and sell. We have vegetables that are bound in Africa. Our climate favors the growing up of all kinds of vegetables. Tomatoes, I mean, can I name them? Onions.
Right.
You know them. You go to the market, you see them. Eat them as raw as possible.
Doctor,
Yes.
Doctor, if I eat a plate of amala and efo or amala and ewedu, all that one is color now. That means my lifestyle is okay.
I like that. That is
because
color. And you see the green.
Tomato and pepper, at least pepper is inside. That one is red.
Yeah.
So that is green. But when you then come to that, you come to the amount of the carbohydrate that is there. We want to cut down on carbohydrates. I think that the normal food of our people is a lot of carbohydrates. What we're saying now is, please, when you look back, my father of blessed memory, this month makes it 4 years he went to be with the Lord at the age of 91. My father is a great, he practiced lifestyle medicine ever before that was pronounced. Every dinner he must have a bowl of green vegetables. So be it, you know, our normal greens and whatever it is that is green around, spinach, garden egg, you know, with fresh pepper, red pepper. He eats that every evening with yam. My father lived in Nigeria. He was very well and happy. So let's go back to what our parents did and our grandparents.
Okay, let me put a final
Children
question
are living,
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for this lifestyle, there's still a lot of confusion. We have different people coming up with different forms of lifestyle. We have people who say, just eat only meat, stay away from the carbs. You have people who say, don't even eat meat. Meat is not healthy for you. Go vegan. You know, we have different different types. Yeah. And sometimes it's difficult for you to choose based on, because you do not even understand what your body accepts. I have tried a couple of them and I realized they weren't working with my body. Now, what's the safest thing that we can do? Ordinary people who just want to stay healthy, how safe, which one do we go for, basically?
Okay. So lifestyle medicine, the difference with lifestyle medicine and lots of things going on is that lifestyle medicine is strongly evidence-based. So there is a lot of evidence, a lot of scientific research that has said that, look, all these diet fads are no good. You know, today is this diet, tomorrow is that diet, and then there's another one. And mind you, there are people working up because they know it's a money-spinning thing. to call it, oh, this diet will make you live 100 years, this diet will make you lose weight, this diet will give you baby skin and all of that. Here is the simple formula to eating right. I said it before. Think rainbow. Let your plate be full of colors. So whether it's the peppers, the greens, whatever, let there be lots of colors on your plate. Eat, that's number one. Number two, as much as possible, eat as fresh and as raw as possible. Number three, when I talk about fresh, don't avoid food going from the farm to the factory to your plate. Cut off the factory, take it from the farm to the kitchen to your plate. Kitchen meaning you wash it up, you make it clean. If you need to boil it, just a little bit. If you need to, avoid frying. So it's a type of way of preparing it again. So I've said it, colors, as fresh as possible, avoiding the factory, so avoid processed food. Now, when you talk about meat, again, research has shown no matter what study you're what type of diet you're referring to, there is a place in the world that is known as the blue zones. Dan Buettner, a doctor in America, talked about looking at places where people live routinely till the age of 100. And not just routinely, but they live healthily. They are walking, they are riding bicycles, they are clearing their gardens, they are dancing at 100 and above. People live routinely up to that. And there is one thing that is common to those people. They eat as fresh as possible. They eat lots of greens. Some of them eat meat, but they eat healthy type of meat.
All right.
So there is also the healthy meat. Meat that doesn't have a lot of saturated fat in it.
Right.
They don't fry. So you don't fry. When you fry, you introduce saturated fat.
Right.
When you have meat pie, buns, you have chin-chin, you have fried meat, you have fried chicken, you have fried chicken, you have
unfortunately, we have to wrap with that. Dr. Moye, we have to bring you back.
I love chin-chin.
Dr. Moye, we have to bring you back. We're running out of time. Time goes so fast. But you just told us we can't eat meat pie, no chin-chin. Oh, my goodness. Man. We got to bring you back. Thank you so much, Dr. Moye. I have to let you go at this time. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, move on to another segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're still on the issue of health. And to commemorate today's World Physical Activity Day, our guest will be enlightening us on the importance of exercise and why it is good for our hearts especially. Joining us right now is Dr. Kingsley Akinre, who is the MD Executive Director, Nigerian Heart Foundation. Good morning, Dr. Kingsley. Are you there?
Good morning, ma'am. You're welcome. Thank you for asking us to join you today.
Yes, sir. So before
on World Activity Day.
Yeah, so before you came on, we had spoken to a doctor who was telling us how to reduce chronic diseases such as heart diseases and all this. And one of the factors she had mentioned is healthy lifestyle, which includes exercise and physical activity. Could you shed more light on how we can begin to incorporate physical activity on our daily lifestyle?
Thank you, Murayo. It was a pleasure also to know about what you've been discussing. I take you back to 2011, when was the first time the United Nations met to discuss about new non-communicable diseases, which are the new diseases that have just come on and that we should recognize. Nigeria participated at that meeting, at that summit, and I was also there. It was at this time that we recognize that we now have on our feet new diseases like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, hypertension, lung disease, and other diseases like sickle cell disease peculiar to Africa. So these are diseases we talk about now, and what we now know is that those diseases can be prevented by the way we live. Countries have done the experiments all over the world. We have countries like Finland, we have countries like Canada, we have countries like even Australia, and also parts of the United States that have done experiments in the 50s. So the UN recognized this in 2011, and since then, it has come up that every country now has a non-communicable disease alliance. And of course, the Nigerian Heart Foundation is also part of that, just to let you know the importance. And in terms of the risk factors you are talking about, we know this disease, what makes you to be more prone to them are your diet, which I believe this one you have been discussing about, bad nutrition, bad salt, bad oil. Then we also discuss situations like physical activity, physical inactivity, sedentary form of living, smoke, which is what today is dedicated for. We also have tobacco use. We have also abuse of alcohol. We have road traffic accident, and a few other things. But for the purpose of today, and which we are doing, is we are doing Physical Activity Day, because we have now recognized in the last 10 years, the UN has now recognized, and WHO representing the UN in the health sector, recognize that every country must have a policy on physical activity. You will remember those days, most of our schools don't have playgrounds anymore. We don't have playgrounds even in places to do it. It's not even easy to do that. But we do know that if you do physical activity, you are bound to break down, your blood pressure will come down by between 3 to 5 millimeters of mercury every week when you do physical activity, because WHO recommends that you do 150 minutes of physical activity every week. Or if you can't do that, that is 30 minutes of in 5 days, you do 75 minutes. That is, you do 75 minutes in a week. And what is that going to do for you? One, is going to cut down your blood pressure. Two, is going to make sure also cut down your blood sugar. That means controlling your diabetes. It has also been proved to increase your immune. One area where we have seen in the last 2 years is the area of COVID-19. In rehabilitation, we do now appreciate that people indulge in physical activity, and even in the centers where they are admitted, they make sure they exercise every day, because physical activity increases your immune system. So these are the things, and also reduces your weight, decreases cancer, and that is why we are celebrating this day.
So I would like to, to make you extend this conversation to the kind of environment that, people will thrive in. So we have an industrial and very commercial city in Lagos that we live in, and you see a lot of chemical, environmental abuse as a result of the kind of industries that we live around sometimes. So we don't have residential areas, we don't have clearly marked industrial areas anymore. How can, physical activity help you survive within such an environment?
Thank you, Murayo. I'm right. Yeah, you really hit on a very good point. Every country, we have been given to 2030 by WHO that every country must come out with a policy. We are also in the center of that, working with the Federal Ministry of Health and other agencies to bring out a policy in which we must create working areas in cities. But before that time, we are not going to wait. There are gyms everywhere, all over the country. And these gyms, people can go there. If you are not safe to exercise within your community, if you cannot go out to go and exercise in clubs, go to the gyms. Go and spend 30 minutes every day, 5 times in a week. You will be able to achieve the same thing. And you will be able to go the quality. But I can assure you, after 2030, some countries are achieving it. We are working with the Federal Ministry of Health, because that is part of our work on the Nigerian Heart Foundation, in drawing policy for the government. We are also beating in this that by 2030, things must be done. Lagos City, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Kano, and a few other cities which we are working on must have walkways, which must be safe, like other cities in the world. I can tell you that on Sundays, there are countries in Europe. Saturdays and Sundays, you see the elderly people, 100 years, 120 years, they are either walking or they are on their bike. Why can't we do the same thing? And the gain in that is that those countries, they live at least 30 years longer than those of us in sub-Saharan Africa, where we don't do exercise. So if you do exercise, if you go to your gym regularly, if you do your walking, you are bound to add 30 more years to your life, to your life in terms of your age, healthy life.
Can I ask you this question, sir? I like to eat some food that you consider unhealthy, like meat pies, like, plantain chips, chin-chin. If I do my exercises, can I continue to be eating those foods? Because, you only live once. So I don't know if I should deprive myself of what I enjoy.
And still die.
Or, do exercise and then continue to eat the things I enjoy.
Oh, yes. One, it is advisable you see your doctor before you undertake exercise. And I'm sure most of our licensed gyms in these countries, they also make sure that you are fit. They check your blood pressure, they check your heart, and make sure. But I also tell you, things have moved. We're in computer age. And we have done research to find out that you may not even need to go to gym. You can go to the stores and buy what we call pedometers. You attach those pedometers to your belt or to your side, and you can achieve number of steps in a day. Either you count steps, either you climb the stairs, and it has been worked that if you do almost about 30,000 steps in a day, it's like also exercising for something like about 15 minutes. So, madam, you are bound to live long when you exercise.
Thank
and
you
I can
very
it's the cheapest aspect of all the 5 causes of not living long that I've mentioned to you is exercise. And it's cheap. You can do it in your bedroom. You can do it in your house. You can do it in the gym. You can do it in the walkway. And more important, all of us are mothers and fathers.
Thank you very much, sir. So we have to wrap up at this time, unfortunately, but I think it's World Physical Activity Day. And I think from what we've heard from both our guests today is that we must include that in our lifestyle. Healthy eating, physical activity, and good sleep. I remember Dr. Muyi also said that. All right, let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll have our final segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So last week, we had started a conversation on how to help young children who are addicted to adult content, on how to stop them, on how to even help parents get the tools on how to protect their children from these kinds of content. So joining us on the show now is a technological practitioner, Mr. Mobolaji Johnson, Mobolaji Moshood. We tried to get you last week, but we have some technical issues. Mr. Moshood, are you there?
Yes, I'm with you.
Oh,
Thank
fantastic.
you very much,
Good to have you.
the team for having me.
So, unfortunately, we don't have so much time today, but it was important for us to bring you back to be sure that we can get this learning, because many parents are confused. Some of us are techie, others aren't, and they need help in how to protect their children from these content. So could you share it in a very, very simple way where people who are watching can actually understand what to do to help their children?
Okay, let me break it down this way. Maybe we just approach it in this manner also. First is to let us understand that before technology, we have people. And people continue to evolve. So also people who create, every day creates this technology also come with different innovations. So in this context, we're talking about the parents and the children. Now we also have the process, which is a simple way, the ABC on how to use these technologies, both effectively and also in a safe manner. So, and there is a standard best practice and framework on how this should be used. Now, many of us always ignore this, even adults. When we get the devices, we just moving into, launching it, and then here we are in the social space. Now, the technology itself, now that's the third one. like I always say, it's a double-edged sword. So you have to know your place in it. Now you have, it's like a marketplace. So marketplace, you have the social media, you have all the other enterprise solutions, you have even the education areas there. Now in this marketplace, you have the players. Those we call the good guys and the bad guys. So just like we have in the real world scenarios, where you have to protect your children, not to go to certain areas or locations, the same way we also would love to do in the social space, in the cyberspace. Now, let's bring it back to context so that we can always align whatever solution we're going to provide at the end of the day to a certain set of people. In this context, we're talking about age group which you can put into 3 different groups: 5 to 7, 8 to 12, and 13 plus. Now, those age groups are the people we're talking about here that we really need to focus on. And when we get it right with these groups, we can be sure the adults, at that point in time, they're sure of how to manage, how to take care of themselves. Now, we're talking about solutions now. The solutions always come from within. I always say, inside out, from the parents first. Now, I said earlier, don't forget, I said the people, and now learning how to use it, this same technology which we have purchased for these children. Now, the solution approach I will put to this, before I even talk about the tools at all, is to talk about what I call the social contract. Within the parents and the child, there must be an established understanding, no matter how little that child is, on how you must use this, and we agreed upon that. It may not be written. In a corporate environment, we always document these things. We create a framework where how you must use your email. We create a framework how you must use other infrastructure within the organization. And we put policy to back it up. But back home, we can have this done in principle, in a good understanding, a good rapport with the children. Now we have this social contract. Now parent contracts and we have child contracts. An understanding from the child to say, this is what I must do and this is what I must not do. And these are the time bounds on it. So once we establish this and we have them to trust us, we have, we can then automate. This is where the tools comes. You see, most of the time, we always put the tools first before we have this, basic understanding. So just for the want of time, we have a couple of tools we could use. We can always, lay our hands on. I have tried personally many, and I have also evaluated also some of them. But one easy ones for us to lay our hands on is Google, Family Link. For Google Family Links, you can always, have this around you, download without having to pay any fee. But if you want to go a step further, like I said, the solution must be targeted towards those age groups we are talking about. Now, Google Family Link may not be able to, solve all your problem in quotes for 13 plus and further down. But other tools are also out there that could also do much more than, what this Family Link can also do, But other approaches are also very, very much important, like getting them much more busy and getting them much more engaged with the good side of, the cyberspace.
All right, Mr. Mobolaji, you said something quite interesting, which I wanted to highlight, which is that we are supposed to have, sort of had a contract with these children before presenting the tools. But in reality, how this COVID-19 came upon everybody, and some of us had planned that these children will not have access to any tools till they get to a certain age. But COVID came and we had to find the tools by any means for them to continue their education. And along the line, we discovered that the children were trying to outsmart us, while instead of focusing on, being in the classroom, they are going to different other sites, playing games and all of that. So we had to now quickly start thinking, how do we control the level?
I can barely hear you, please. Can you hear me, Murayo?
My God.
You didn't hear anything Bisi said? She was talking to you earlier.
Yes, yes, it was just the background. I couldn't, wasn't very clear.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, unfortunately, I hear your mic.
No, not yet, BC.
Okay, so,
but I can hear Murayo clearly.
Okay. The Google family
link
that you mentioned, can you break it down on how we can even start, with that first?
Okay, thank you, Nima. You see, this is a tool that helps you to control your time, the children's time on the device. Now, I can launch a new device and I give it out to a 12-year-old. And I can say, okay, for your gaming apps and all that, I will allow you to use them maybe between 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And once 7 p.m. is done, it's logged out. I can shut down the whole system. I can shut down the whole device. Now, for other activities like you don't want these apps, or you need, before any new apps is, launched or installed on that device, he or she needs your permission. He or she needs your authorization. So it will come to you like like you have your alert on your phone to accept, that particular child in, or to accept that app that the child wants to install on the device. So it monitors quite a lot of the activities, the apps. You can even narrow it down to saying, okay, you have WhatsApp there to chat with your friend, and I can limit it to only 3-4 hours for you to use that. Or I locked it out. I don't want you to use a video of that particular WhatsApp, So that's how good it is. Another good thing about it, Nima, is it's a Google apps. And you can tell today, as of today, Google is still the number one when it comes to geographical management systems. So they have locations. You can have your location tracked. They can even track. I use this also. I put on my locations so that they can also know where I am at a point in time.
Right. All right,
they can track my last location. I can track their last location as well, right, in case anything goes wrong.
Let BC ask you that question again.
Mr. Mobalaji, can you hear me now?
No, very well, BC.
Okay, so I said I liked what you started with. You explained how parents should have had like a contract with their children, a sort of agreement before we release the tools. But I was saying, how COVID-19 happened on everybody. We didn't see it coming, and then we had to release these tools because the children had to be in school, only for us to realize that the kids were trying to outsmart us by going to other sites while they're supposed to be in class. Now, a lot of parents are in a dilemma. They do not know how to control the extent to which the children can go. And these kids are so smart that they can delete their search history and all of that. How do we begin to enforce these boundaries we did not start with in the first place, one? And how do we begin to, block out certain sites so that they are not able to access it?
Thank you very much, BC, and I appreciate you were able to pick that from my introduction earlier. You see, in a corporate environment today, you see those people we call the IT service management, companies that have attained the IT service management maturity. What that means is that they have put in place the way IT infrastructure should be used, effectively and safely also, without causing any problem. And they put it, I could recall in 2007, we have a particular issues on an organization that most of the staff, once they resume into the office, they either visiting the sports channel or visiting the Facebook. We had to put a tool into place to ensure that we only open this site up within 5 to about 8 p.m. Now back to your question. We, as parents, we must get these contracts, in place. It must be the understanding we must establish. That must be the first point of call. Then we will also, explain to them, how do you use this effectively for your own benefits and for your own good? Now, before we now comes to tools, now the process you can always engage. And I also have a good idea, a good approach. Let me introduce this to you. I call it the project-based, engagement for children. some couple of children and a couple of undergraduates I mentor, you engage them with projects also. It could be drawing. Our interest could be in drawing. We can do that always online too. So you agree. This is the timeline. 1 month, you must get me these pictures. You must get this and use this too, and learn how to use this too also. And you continue to monitor each other and say, this is how much more hours you're going to use out of your free hour. By the time you make them busy, get them busy, the only thing they end up doing on those devices at the end of the day will be the good ones, the good things that those devices were originally created to be used for. So to monitor them, for example, when we had the lockdown, the Zoom example you gave, you could restrict only the children to only the Zoom environment. Take over the whole systems. Lock all the other apps up. Don't open them all. Predetermine when it should be opened. So you can leave them open, say, from 5 to 7. The other aspect of the Zoom, it's always open. You can even control what should happen in the Zoom also. Those are the things that the tools will do. But you see, don't just do that. Get them to understand why you are doing it. It's very important. This has worked very well for me, personally. So they need to understand. Because there will be more. I told you there are a lot of players. They are good and the bad players, right? So the bad guys continue to look for a way to get to these kids, to introduce them to bully a lot of things.
Right. Yeah. You see, the thing is, children of today are very independent-minded. They have the expertise with these tools that we don't have. So if you lock this thing from morning to night, they will find a way to open it. My daughter is a computer programmer. She locked all my brother's children, all this thing. They found a way to enter. Don't you think that it is just better to just keep them away from these tools unless they are under strict supervision? You are sitting right there with them. Because they are going to find a way.
Thank you very much, Yeni. Thank you, Yeni. You see, like I said earlier, I said technology is a double-edged sword. In the whole of your conversations before now and just about now, I haven't heard anyone say, oh, keep them away from technology. Don't use it. You can't do without it. We've all agreed on that. Now, how to do it safely is what we're discussing here now. Now, I have a personal experience daily of a 12-year-old boy who is what I call a whiz-kid, a developer, who could do a lot of things and hack into any system. Now, what has worked for me, and that's why I'm emphasizing this, it's not the tool itself, but the understanding that, guy, look, this is very harmful for you. And I'll tell you a personal experience with this same 12-year-old. He happens to be on Discord. I don't know if you know about Discord. It's a social environment too for children, with some of his friends, who some of them were, different part of the country. And you have an intruder into the system, into that social environment, introducing a drug to them, introducing opium to them. Now, because you have made him to understand these things in the real life scenario, they immediately were able to shut this down. And later, it was a couple of days later, they were telling us the stories. My own 12-year-old was telling me the story, and his friend was also told the dad who later, we later discussed this. Now, they were able to manage it. That's what I'm saying. The independent, building them to be that independent-minded, to be able to manage this. They will always come. Just like you leaving them in the school premises, when they have the point to make their decisions. Like you rightly say, Yeni, take that age 8 to 12. They are the guys that are always querying and asking questions. They query the systems, and most of the time they are impatient to wait for your own answer. They find their own answer themselves. So you have to make them be equipped enough to face that world. That world will continue to evolve. Just like the technology evolved, that world of the bad guys will continue to evolve too.
Fantastic. Thank you very. You know, I think what I've gotten from this conversation is that it's not about the tools. It's still about raising the children the old-fashioned way. The old-fashioned way. We still have to have this conversation because either they'll find predators either online, offline, in school, in the most protected areas, they'll find predators. So it's how you equip the children from being old-fashioned, having that training, raising them, having that conversation, that social contract with them is still the way to go. Not so much upon the ball, because as YK said, no matter how much parental control you do, some of these children can hack it. You know, so yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Moshe. I have to let you go at this point. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
All right.
Sir. Thank you. Yes, Nima, you're going to say something?
No, I was, saying that, they would hack into it. I remember putting the password on the TV, the cable channels, and I came out one day, all the channels were locked. The next day I came out, all the channels were open. So somebody sat in the house.
Mariam said that her mother was saying her password in Hausa, telling somebody in Hausa. Her son, who doesn't understand Hausa, was just then, after a while, now it's gonna play. Please tell me what is number 1 to 10 in Hausa. They're just playing a game with 1 to 10. As they told me 1 to 10 in Hausa, immediately knew grandma's password.
My 5-year-old has hacked my password. Immediately her siblings came back. He said, I know mommy. And she called out.
My grandson, my grandson is not 3. He sends me texts with his mother's phone.
What?
To say what?
He's not, I just see all kinds of funny pictures, or he will take my pictures and then I will just see my picture. Who's upset. He calls me with his mother's phone.
Wow.
He's not 3.
Nothing beats parental control than that conversation. That's fantastic. I think I got that from him. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. That's all we can take on today's show. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.